Hi there and welcome. Lori with the Tattered Atelier here, and I'm so excited to go over this tutorial with you today. This tutorial is going to be on making these handmade charms, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to make them, and I'm also just going to show you a little bit of inspiration around how to utilize these. I've done this in a couple of different ways. So this is a journal that's not quite finished, but um, I've used some of these charms on this page where I've taken two of them that I've made and then just stacked them up with some lace in between, some old antique lace and another little charm and a little ribbon there, or actually more lace. But they look really cute to stack them up. And I've also used them. Here's another, you can put them on a little tab here and have them hanging off of a tab, which looks really cute when you see it on the outside of your journal. I've also used these like this. So I've made one of these labels. Now I could have made that into a tag, but I've decided to stack it up and layer it onto this page, and it gives it a really nice focal point. They're really substantial. So yeah, I can't wait to show you how we make these. And then another one here is in this lace journal. This one has a couple different ones. So this one I added a little tag on there before I put the polish over it, which I'll show you. This one is another one. And I'm telling you, there are so many different options in making these. You can use just about anything, any piece of paper, any label. I'm just going to go over a bunch of different ones that you could, potentially use. So here's some that are just these little vintage ladies that I've used in one of those books. So I've used actual pictures like this. Here's a couple that I could use. So just little pictures. I've used labels. These I just cut out of a larger piece of paper that was just a digital. But I'll show you so many options here. So that one, actually, the ones I just showed you these came just from a digital like this, where I just went in and cut some pieces out. So like that one actually right there is the pink one that I showed you in this book. This is just I just cut away pieces out of a digital. Same with that one. So you can use any digitals that you just love the pictures. You just need kind of small pieces. I've made some quite large, and they do get a little bit, when it's really large and you're using the glossy accents, it's, you kind of, they just come out better when they're on a little bit smaller piece. But here's some cute little labels. I just literally just pulled some stuff out of just a bunch of papers that I have laying around. These would make really cute charms. Any of these. These ones are my porch prints. These are as well, and I use these a lot, these little labels. So those are some good neutral ones that you could, make a charm and hang them off of a little pin, bold pin. Here's some other just vintage labels. These would be really cute. Here's some that are, I made them smaller. These are the ones that I made that I showed you, the big substantial one. So I've made those a little bit smaller. Here's some more just little, cute tags and roses. And I mean, it goes on and on. You could use words. You could use little inspirational ones that have a little saying on them, or you could just take a piece of paper that you like, some pretty piece of paper, and you could just punch a circle out of it and make your tag with that. Like, it is, the possibilities are just endless. Anything you would like to use, pictures, words, images, any of that is great. So that's why it's so fun. It's such a creative, you can just use anything. In fact, I thought this was a pretty little piece of paper. I thought I might even try using that. So to talk about the supplies that you'll need, so again, you'll need some images or pretty paper that you want to use. And then again, just glossy accents. And you may have seen these videos before. It's a pretty straightforward process. I just really love just all the different things that you can do with them. And also I like to distress the edges or even use paint, and then do some layering with them and so forth. So the other way I'm going to show you, this is just clear nail polish. This is another quick and easy way to make these. And the person I learned this from is Sara-Lee Armstrong. She's amazing. She has a great channel, lots of tutorials, but the nail polish comes out really flat, where the glossy accents are much more dimensional, right? So you have those two options. I'll show you both. And then also resin. So I will do another tutorial on resin. It's really best to use, like, you need like a ring or a metal, like a bezel, like these, to when you put the resin in. So I will do another one on resin. So those are like 3 different ways: nail polish, glossy accents, or resin. And they all give you just a little bit different result. So gather some images that you would like to work with. So that's the first thing. And then what I do is you put these on a really thick cardboard, if you will. So the couple things that you could use, you can use some really heavy cardstock. That's still not going to be really thick, but those would be your lightest ones, if you will. This is just some chipboard. You could use that. You can use, I often use the back of a sketch pad or a art pad. This is really heavy cardboard. It's nice and thick. It's not kind of porous like you get with packaging material. The best thing, what I like to use the most, and I use these for journal covers as well, is mat board. So this is what they use for framing, when you frame pictures. And you can buy, I purchase it like this. I get the 5x7s because usually that's a good size for an actual journal. And I just use 2 of these front and back, and then cut a piece for a spine. So I use them for a journal cover. But this is really great as well to use for these charms, because you just get this nice heavy, they're nice and heavy. They're thick. They don't bend. So this is really great to use. But you could use, different cardboard. And again, it just all depends on how thick you want them. But these can come out nice and sturdy. So images, cardboard, your either nail polish or glossy accents, or grab both if you want to try both of these. And then you'll just need to be able to glue your images to your backing paper. And so now, once we have all of our supplies, we will get started. One other thing that you'll need is the crocodile or an eyelet punch, and some eyelets, or even just a hole punch. If you don't have this, that's fine. You can still make these. Okay, so, and I'm going to be using distress ink. You could use paint. I've done that. I've painted the backs and the edges. So you could do it with paint. This one I'm going to put just some decorative paper on the back. So I mostly just need the edges. So I'll just use Distress ink. So the next step then is to just pick out what you're going to use. So I also, I just use some old, this is really old, just some paper out of a book with lovely writing on it. I think this is Danish actually. And then I got another one that's one of the bigger labels that I'll show you. And then a couple more little ones that I cut out. And so the next step then is to just glue this down to your board here. So I'm just going to do that. And so I will, I want to layer a couple of these and show you how you can just add charms and lace and all kinds of different things for interest on these. But I'm just going to glue these to the board. Let's do that really close. So one less side to do. And then we'll do this little rose one. Again, I did want to make these a little bit smaller. The big ones tend to, the glossy accents is just, it doesn't settle quite as, it's kind of self-levels, but it doesn't do it too well with something really large. So this one, I'm going to do the clear nail polish, and I'll show you the finish on that. I mean, I did show you this one, but I'll show you how that goes on this one. And then with these, we will use the glossy accents, so they're nice and thick. And again, I will do another video of resined ones. That'll be coming soon. So I thought, this might be cute to use this one with the paper, and then maybe cut out a couple from just some decorative paper. So I think I will just use my little punch here. And this is just a little circle punch. And if I turn it upside down, I can see what I'm punching. So just get a nice picture. I'll probably get this rose in here and some of this other pretty paper, and then or image. And I'll do this on the front and the back. So maybe I'll just do this one here. Okay. So then I've already cut out a circle of the mat board. So I'm going to glue this on both sides. And then so I will glue that one on. And glue it on the back, the other picture. And then I will cut out these other two that we glued down here. Okay. So I've got this one ready. And this one, I already just glued the paper on the back and the front. And then I just did the edges at an angle. Again, this will have a hole in it. And then, and of course, we're going to ink it and make it look old. So that one I already stuck to the board, and I stuck this one to the board. And then I will cut out these two, and then I will pop right back and ink those up. One thing I did want to mention as you are getting your images together for this project, if you are going to use the nail polish trick on this, and again, cheap nail polish from the dollar store is fine, the clear. If you're going to use that, you're going to want to print on glossy paper. It doesn't work on matte paper. What happens is once you spread that on, it's just going to smear the colors in it. So yeah, print on glossy paper. It isn't as much of an issue with the glossy accents, but it is with the nail polish. And as I recall, this one I printed on an inkjet, and it did smear it a little bit, but actually I didn't mind on this particular picture because it is sort of a vintage faded look anyway. But just do know that you could always give it a go on a picture that you're not going to use, or something that you've printed along with it, before you uh, mess up your nice picture for your charm. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, so I have all of these prepped on the matte board, and I actually had put the nail polish on the bigger one and it ruined it. I thought I had printed it on a laser printer, and actually, even with a laser printer, the nail polish will ruin it. So you really have to use the glossy paper. So I've redone that one, but that one's ready to go. And then I've got this little one. And what I'm going to do on the back of this one is I'm going to paint it. I'll distress ink the edges, and I'll paint the back with some burnt umber, just so you can see how it's done with paint. This one, I'm not going to back it at all with paper or with paint, because I'm going to punch some holes in this and make a little bit different label. So I don't need anything done on the back of that one, just the edges. And then this one, I actually just put paper on both sides. So I will ink the edges, and then I made one just from the similar paper on to put behind it, because I just want to layer those two. Okay, so these have paper on both sides. Same with this one, this nice old book paper. And I did try the nail polish on the book paper, and it was fine. And it's also, the nail polish is fine on scrapbook paper. I am going to use I'll use nail polish on one side and glossy accents on the other, but these should be fine. So all of these are ready. So I've done a circle, I've done these tags, I'll paint this one, and I'll make this one a little bit different. So we have sort of a variety. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to just start inking the edges of these. Okay, so I'm just going to go along, and I do want that to go right along the front of it there, just a little bit. So it gives it kind of an aged look. Okay. And so there we go. So I'm going to do all of the edges of these, and then I will paint the back of this one and show you that. Okay, so I have inked the edges, and I will say that as I went around the edges, some of those just, it left a little bit along this edge, not fully inked. So that was giving me a little bit of trouble. So what I did is I took my paint. And I'm going to paint the back of this one. So I have used burnt umber. Any darker brown or rich brown, medium brown, sepia, or just a darker brown tone is fine. So I am going to paint the back of that one, but I also just went along the edge of some of these just to get kind of that white edge a little bit off that the distress ink wasn't covering. So I did do that. Now on this one, I don't have to worry too much about the back, because this, I'm going to make it into a label that's going to lay flat with some brads there and a piece of lace behind it after I do the polish across it. But these ones, I did have to be, quite careful, because I've got paper on the front and the back. But what I also did, I want to show you this trick again. If you've watched anything I've been putting on YouTube, I love to, when I ink an edge, so I go along and I do the ink. Now, again, you can use a dauber, you can use one of the little, the ones that they make for putting this on. But I like to dip just a tiny bit of water and do it right along the edge. And again, it just kind of smears that, this distress ink is water activated. So it kind of activates that edge, the ink on the edge, and it kind of smears it in, and it just gives it a much better look, like it's, like it's really old. So I've done that. So I inked the edges, and I did do a little bit of that water along there. And I just make a mess of my hands. I can't be bothered. I don't use one of those dauber things, but so I've inked the edges, and then I went along and I painted where there were some little white spots left. So those look nice and covered. And then I'm actually going to paint the back of this one. I use a little bit of my water there. And you know, again, some of them I did did paper on both sides because they're going to be dangling and you can see them. I'm fine with this one. It's one I'm going to be, I'll be layering some lace behind it, and probably as a charm and such in the front of it. So just a nice coat of this brown looks fine. So again, and I just wanted to give you several options. So you can paint the back, you can double side it, or if it's not going to be shown, you can leave it. So there we go. It's amazing the difference with the inking and that little bit of paint. Now they all look aged and ready to go. Okay, so then the next step is going to be punching the holes in them. So I will grab my tools and we'll start that process. Okay, so that's all nice and dry, and all my paint around the edges are dry. And actually, right before I do the punching, I'm going to do the ones that I'm going to do the nail polish. I'll do those first before I punch them. They will be fine. The glossy accents are the ones that you don't want to punch through. So I'm just going to do a coat of clear nail polish just all across this charm. And I am going to do 2 coats. So I'll get this coat on and let it dry. It's just crazy how easy this is. Just a quick coat, and the second coat will just make it even better. So there we go. There's the first one. I decided I'll do half of them polish and half of them glossy accents. But so I'm going to go ahead with the this paper one, and then also the little circle. So these ones will have just a really flat tone to them and not be dimensional like the glossy accents. Okay, so I've got my first coat on that one. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and do this circle. And the other thing I'm going to do is on the ones with the glossy accents, I will do nail polish on the back of them. Sorry for the loud traffic out the window. I don't want to put glossy accents on both sides and have the back of it dimensional. Okay, so there's my first coat on these. And then just quick, I will do them on the backs of these ones. And again, you just do 2 coats. See if I can speed up through this section so you don't have to watch me polishing forever. So I will do the backs and then the second coat, and I will be right. Okay, so now I have got all 2 coats of the polish on this one, which that one's finished. We'll do glossy accents on that one. This one, I'm going to do glossy accents. I did want to put a little tag on here like I did this one. I had a couple people ask about this one, and I'm just going to add this one's just dry. I haven't done anything with it yet. So I'm going to just add that little tag there that says vintage. Again, so many things you could do with this. You can layer and, you know, could put all kinds of things on here. So we'll just add that little tiny detail. And I just cut that off of another label and distressed the edges. Okay, so this one is going to be a layered one. So you'll just see that little word tucked away after we do the glossy accents on these and put the holes in them and add some lace and charms and things. So just a tiny detail there. Okay, so those are going to need the glossy accents. And then this one came out really shiny, which is fine. It's a bit, and it's because I did this on the glossy paper and then put the polish on top, so it's quite shiny. So I did another one. So I just grabbed this little label, did the same thing, put it on the mat board, and this one I didn't need to do a nice finished back because I'm going to do the same thing with this. These are going to be labels that that you use, like I'll put brads on them, and so there'll be ones that you add to a page rather than dangle. But this one, I just wanted to do one that was more matte. So I've got the matte one, the shiny one. So those need the holes in them. And these need the glossy accents on them. But after I punch the holes, get that a little centered. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, so this one is done. So we can go ahead and put the holes in this one, in these. And what I'm going to do is, now this is kind of a small dangle for a full punch. You could do just a little punch and then put your bulb pin through it, or a jump ring, a bigger jump ring. I'm just going to go ahead and do an eyelet in it because I'll add a little charm. I'm okay with it being kind of a bigger hole there. I was going to do the glossy accents on this, but I really liked how that the nail polish actually interacted with this old paper. You're going to see that. You're going to see how different materials act with different types of things. Like scrapbooking paper is very different than paper from, the 1800s. So I really liked how this looked. So I'm just going to pop a hole in there and get these two ready. Okay. And then I'll use some of these older brass looking eyelets. So I'm going to get this one ready. Just do the little magic on here. Oh, that's weird. Pop these on here. Oh, this one's off center. Huh. That wasn't going to line up. Okay, so there we go. So there's that one. So that one's done. And then this one. Okay, so I like how those turned out. And so those are done. They've got 2 coats of nail polish on either side. And I will be adding the embellishments, so a piece of lace and some charms and a bulb pin and a ribbon, and really get those all jazzed up over there. And then this one, we're going to do the glossy accents. And this one, I chose this one because the lettering is upright and the flowers at the bottom. I did first cut out this one, but this one has the flowers at the top. And I want the flowers at the bottom because I'm going to put a dangly kind of a charm on there. So make sure I do this on the right side. So I'm going to punch the hole here and get this one ready, but this one is going to have the glossy accents. So same thing, I'll do the brass one. And again, this just has the nail polish on the back, but then it'll be way more dimensional on the front, which is what I wanted. And then that's just a little, this was actually cut just a little bit wonky, but I don't mind because I'm going to have a ribbon there and that's going to be covered up, but that's totally fine. And then these two, need them. You can't see these. Okay, so here we go. Get those as centered as possible. And put those little eyelets in as well. Again, these are quite thick, so they pop out those huge little confetti bits. Okay, and then this one. Okay, so here we go with these three. These are the ones that are going to get the glossy accents. It's really important that you don't shake this bottle because you don't want bubbles in it. Okay, so with this stuff, and you've maybe used this before, but it is sort of self-leveling, but you just pop right around that ring and then just try to do a nice, even layer. I just usually start at the top and just really smoothly make my way down. Oh, is this going to give me some trouble? Just keep clearing that up with a pin there. And then you can see the spaces. You just want to get this nice and smooth. And of course, now it wants to pour out like crazy, which is okay. I want this nice and kind of thick. Now these ones are going to take some time to dry. In fact, I'll probably just leave them overnight. There we go. And I can see that there aren't, well, actually, there's one tiny bubble in here. Okay, that's really smooth. So I like how that one turned out. And then I'm going to do the same with these. Again, this is kind of why you can see that you don't want huge ones. Again, it gives a lot of room for it to, you know, for the glossy accents to kind of be not real smooth. So kind of the smaller ones, the better, you know. You can do the nail polish on the big ones and get that nice flat look. And you kind of have a better outcome with them on the bigger ones than with this. That's got one big bubble in it, which I'll get that out right here. And a little bit in that ring, which will kind of fall through to the back, which is fine. And I can smooth that out just a little. Bring it to the edge. Okay. Oops. There we go. That bubble just popped. So that's a good one. This takes a little practice, I have to say. I'll show you my one that did not work out. This one. This is one of my first ones. And the glossy accents was all bubbly and a couple of large bubbles in it. So that's a practice one. So it does take a little bit of time to get this where you can feel like it goes really smoothly. So now I'm just going to go right over both of these with that little tag on there. That's all dry. And then there's another bubble. And then another trick with this is taking a piece of Tupperware, just a little Tupperware bowl or whatever, and setting it right over the top and then leaving it overnight. And that way, you know, just lint and different things you know, doesn't land in it. So get rid of that bubble. It actually looks like a little something in there. Okay. But you can mess with this a little bit while it's, when you first put it on there and get it nice and smooth. Again, it's kind of got this self-leveling thing where it should settle. Okay, so those are quite thick coats on here. So I'm going to put a cover over there. That's a bubble. And again, if that doesn't come out, it's not the end of the world. Actually, that looks good. It is up towards the top. So, you know, I'm going to have a lot of stuff going on with those at the top. But you can see they're very cloudy. And I'm going to, I would just take a piece of Tupperware and just set it right over there and then leave them overnight. So, so they don't, so things don't, you know, no lint or anything gets on those. And then we'll pop back and put in these, we'll work with these. Okay, so while those ones with the glossy accents are drying, I'm just going to finish up these last two that we've kind of turned into labels rather than charms. So what I've done is I just took a little tiny hole punch and just did punches on either side. I just did this and then my computer went wacky, so I had to start over. And I had already punched them. So I just punched little holes on the sides of those. And then I punched them on these as well. So I just punched those 4 holes. I just eyeball it. If you're more meticulous than I am, then you can measure it. But that looks pretty good. I swear when I measure it, it ends up looking worse than when I measure them. I don't know. It's easier to eyeball it for me. So then I'm going to grab just a couple of brads, and I've just been scrapping through some lace. I think with this label, I'll just put on a little bit of this. This is some old antique netting. And actually, I'm just going to put it on there first. And then I will cut around it, and then I will shred it like I do, because that's my favorite thing. Make it look nice and old. So I've got that. And this is the other thing. I will just put this bit of netting, but when I go to use this little tag, then I would likely, add some layers of lace. I'll put lace on one of them, and then, so you just, once you have this, just cut here in a square. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is that's just way too perfect. It's too square. So I'm just going to take my seam ripper and I'm just going to shred that. And then again, this takes a little bit of time, but it's always worth it if you like a tattered look. But that's just my favorite. I like that look. Okay, so get this all nice and tattered. Maybe I can run it along there. There we go. And then I'll do that with this other one. I have some really nice lace that actually came from a Paris flea market that I'm going to use on that other one. So that one is done. So it's, it's a label and it's all nice and got a nice finish on it. This one again is a little bit glossy, but that's okay. And when I go to layer it with a bunch of things, I would put some old text underneath, some maybe a lace flower cluster in the corner. There's netting there, and then some antique lace. So once you get a bunch of layers going with this, that'll just be super cute in a journal. So that one is finished. And then this little Paris one, same thing. I will add some of this netting to it. Well, here, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just show you. I'm going to pop these in here. And then, so that'll look like this. And then I will put some netting behind it. Okay, and again, I love that old, this isn't even, I didn't even dye this. This is actually just that old. And I do think I want some of this old Paris lace that I have underneath. So I will layer those, and actually I need to I'll cut this in half and get it on both sides and layer it and then put it on here. So I'll do that just off camera so it doesn't take so long. This video I think is already getting kind of long, but that's what I'm going to do with this one. So I'll have some nice lace back to it. And then we can go ahead and decorate this one. And what I was thinking, so I just grabbed a bulb pin, and then I'm going to put this at the back. I could either put lace behind the whole thing. I think I'm going to sandwich the lace in between. So I'm just going to pop this onto a pin. And then I'm going to put this little strip of lace, just torn lace, over that. Okay. And then I'll put this one, the circle that we did here. And then I was looking at some charms. Of course, you just start looking, and gathering whatever charms you think might look good. And then I had that little heart, but I think that one's a little bit small. So I thought this one might be cute. The little circle heart with it. And then I could put a little antique bead on there. Again, I just love layers. I love just adding, a bit more. And these beads might be a little bit big, but these are just gorgeous antique glass beads, but we'll see. So I'm going to put a little bead on here. Oh, that looks great. And then I'm going to put, so that's got love on one side and a heart on the other. So either side looks super cute. Then it's got a little antique bead. And then I will add maybe just a little bit of this sari silk. And it doesn't need much. I don't need a big bow on it, actually. I'm just going to take a piece of sari silk, this neutral kind of creamy color. I'll just tear that, get rid of all the strings. And then I think I'll just add a little knot. I don't even think it needs a bow. It's a little bit busy, the charm is. So it could use maybe just a little. I think it's really cute when you even just the tiniest little bit there. Cut it off quite short. And then there we go. So that one, I always have distress ink on my fingers. So there we go. So that one's all done. And then this one is done. And I will add some lace and netting to this one. And that one will be finished up. And then I'll pop back as soon as the other ones are dry. Okay. So I thought I would just pop back and do this on camera just in case it's helpful to anyone. If it's not helpful, you don't have to, watch this section, but maybe just putting this together would be helpful for some. So I'm just gonna do a little more distress ink on the edges before I put this one together. And then what I wanted to do with this one is just layer some lace. And this is one of my favorite pieces of lace. Again, it came from an old flea market, and I've sort of been hoarding it. So I think maybe it would be helpful to just watch me do this on film. So I'm just going to glue these two pieces. It wasn't wide enough to do one piece. So I'm just going to put a little glue on here. And then you'll see I'm going to shred this so you won't see the crossover. So I'm going to put one piece on. And I'll set that down on this other piece. There we go. And again, just the shredding is going to blend all that together. So now I actually need to well, maybe I'll just do it with this lace is fine. I can always add, once I'm going to use this in a project, just like the other one, it all depends on what I'm making. So this will just give me a base. And then if I want to add more layers, once I have this in a project, then that's fine. Okay, so now, so that looks really great and it looks way too perfect. So, and if you haven't seen me do this before, I just love to tatter the edges of lace to make it just look old and torn up. And I know sometimes it's hard to tear up your beautiful lace, but it makes all the difference. It makes it really beautiful. Now, you also want it when you're tattering like this. It's not true tattering, but when you're shredding this and making it look old, you want to be really aware of like how far down you're putting your seam ripper. Do you want it just on this upper edge, or do you want to tear it up all deep into the lace? So I really just want this upper edge. I can always do more if I want it closer to the image, but I want to shred that. I mean, and you can see just how the difference between the top and the bottom there. It just looks so much better. So I'm gonna keep doing this along here. Again, it takes a little more time. It's quite easy to just put your lace on and finish up, but this is so worth it. Take off that kind of corner there. So see, I can just kind of tatter that around the overlap and you don't even really see it. So that's fine. This lace tatters so nicely because it's really old. Synthetic lace just doesn't. You just fight with it. But these old laces are just so, the fibers are so nice. They dye nicely. They pick up color, whether it's tea dyeing or I'm doing a batch of hibiscus tea right now that's got a lavender gray that's just gorgeous. I've got a really lovely project in the works, and my old laces are just the best for picking up the color. Substantial difference between that and newer laces. So I will likely do that on screen as well, on camera. But here we go, just taking your time and getting that all shredded so it looks old, old, old. And I would probably I'm going to tatter just right along the edge of that there and just put the tiniest dab of glue just to keep these two pieces together. I could probably do that on this side as well. Nope, doesn't even need it. Again, these are a little too long, and then I don't want a clean edge. There we go. Okay. So there we go. Look how much cuter that is when it's all tattered. Okay, and I think I'll use this. I'm going to be doing a little project, making a needle book. I've just got some gorgeous old laces and things I'm going to make a book out of, and totally inspired by Nicola Mason. She did one it's got a little tag called haberdashery, and it's anyway. I'll be showing that project, but I think I'll use this in that little handmade book, and then we've got this one and we've got this one, and then we'll have two more, another layered one, and then one that's going to be a little more simple that have the glossy accents. So I will be back once those are dry, and then we will be able to finish up. Okay. Okay, so we're back, and it's been overnight. I let those ones with the glossy accents dry overnight. I just wanted to follow up really quick on my ramblings at the end, before I signed off. Um, I am, because I'd made this cute little label, and in my mind, I'm making this super cute. I'm going to slow stitch this. It's a little needle book, and it was inspired by Carrie Ann over at Shabby Art Boutique. She did this digital on, it's a haberdashery little kit, and Nicola Mason made a beautiful little lace needle book. So I'm going to make one of those. So this is a preview of a coming soon. I will film it, and it'll be just a lovely, I'm using a bunch of my really nice old laces. But anyway, I thought these are going to have pockets, and I thought, oh, that would be really cute on this project. I'll be sewing this. And so anyway, that's what I was on about that I sort of started and didn't finish saying. So let's, I'll grab the last little charms and we'll finish up. Okay, so here are our last three with the glossy accents. And as I mentioned, I did put just a plastic Tupperware thing over them overnight. And that way just, dust and little things don't get stuck in it. So that's a really helpful little trick. Okay, so I want to have a look at these. I really like how this one turned out. And once again, you can see just the size. They just, I think this, smaller size is just a little bit better option than these bigger ones where the glossy accents doesn't settle quite as smooth. So I do like the size, and I like how mottled kind of that, the roses are on that. This one turned out cute. This one's fine. I will use a little bit longer little charm on that. So those two I like. I was going to stack these two, kind of like the example one, and layer them, but this one turned out terrible. And I want to explain why, I imagine, is the trouble. And I will grab the rose one. This one worked. So this is what I have figured out. So on this rose one, this one looks fine. So I did the same same process. And I did this one with nail polish. I added this little tag that says rose afterwards, and it does have a tiny bit different texture. I did just cover that with a little bit of like matte gel, or you could put Mod Podge or something over it just to seal that up. But that worked fine, and it's nice and clear. What happened with this one, and this was actually all pink, and the tag was pink, and then I did some distress ink around it, and then once I put that glossy accents on it, it totally changed the color, smeared it all over, and now it's orange. So I will be getting rid of that one. So don't do that. If you want to add a tag, you can't really add it on the glossy accents afterwards. I would do it this way, and again, add it afterwards. So we'll be getting rid of that one. So that one won't be layered. So I want to just finish real quick, just embellishing these. So I will, so this little rose one, I'll just take a little piece, and I've already, done the tattering on that. And I put a little jump ring on it. And then So I'll layer those two. And then this one just needs a tiny little charm. It's not a big charm in and of itself. So I'm just going to slip a little safety pin with a tiny little charm on it with the lace behind it. And then I will close that up and I will add a little piece of silk. And again, I just love working with really nice 100% silk. It's just gorgeous, has a very different look and feel. So I'll tie a little ribbon on that one. And then that one will be done. I'll just do a quick little embellishing on these. Nothing like tying a bow while you're filming yourself, because that's going to be fussy. I'll cut those tags off. Just a little bow. And then, okay, so I'll cut those off. I could use some sharpening of the scissors, to be honest. Okay. So there we go. So let's have a look at that one. I really like that. That's just delicate and sweet. Let's play with that bow a little bit. And then this other one, same sort of a thing. We'll just add a little bit of lace and a few charms and a ribbon. Okay, so there we go. So that's that one. And again, that'll just look really cute on the corner of a page. Okay, so there's that one. And then again, this last one, same sort of a thing. I grabbed just a little charm with a tiny bit of chain on it. And then I often do the jump rings right in the inside the bottom of the safety pin. That way they don't get all wonky and slide around and so forth. So that's a little trick I do. And then I've put a jump ring on this one. And so I'm just going to do the same thing. Add that, put a little bit of antique lace on the back that I've tattered and torn up. And then again, I will tie a little bow on it. And this vintagey pink, you know, this started out as a little bit darker pink, and I have just tea dyed a bunch of my silks. It just gives it such a nice sort of vintage pink tone, which I just love. Vintage pink and vintage green and the French blue. Those are probably my favorite colors to work with usually. And of course, all the neutrals and creams. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these off and then we'll go over all of these. Oh my goodness, I need some better scissors. Of course, I probably have who knows how many pair, right, as we do. Okay, so we'll have a look at that one. I just love that color pink with these. So get my little safety pin there, and there we go. Just a little bit longer one to sort of match kind of the aesthetic of that one, and then some old lace and a little ribbon. So there we go. There's our last two. So they're layered, but not quite like this other one, but that's okay. So let's just go back over all of these and just kind of, I just want to wrap this up and I want to mention a couple things. So again, you can turn these into labels rather than charms that hang there, right? So these are really fun to use on pages and pockets and things. And then the let's talk about these. So these are the ones. This one's nicely layered. I've got two charms and some lace and ribbon bead charm. Like there's a lot going on, and it just looks nice and layered and rich. So those are, I just love making those like that. And again, if you look at this one, this, and this, these were all done with that nail polish. So the color is quite flat, but it still just has a nice finish. And they're all really sturdy and just nice flat finish on them. Okay, so those are that style. And then again, we have the ones with the glossy accents that are really heavy, you know, they're really textured. Okay, so all of these are done like that. And they're all done exactly the same way, right? So it's just, that's the process, using any picture you would like. So, so again, you can see that, you know, the ones that I did previously, are done the same way. And again, I did make them a little bit smaller. Like this one worked quite well because it's not too big. This one was a bit too long. I know that's kind of a fun one. And I have to show you, this one also cracked. I don't know if you can see this. Maybe you can see it more like that. It cracked when I was kind of messing after I put the glossy accents on. But I'm not bothered about that. And so just know that if you bend them too much, that can crack. I am now going to create some different things. I love doing crackle technique. That I would consider a happy accident because I would love to. I'm going to make some other things. This is one of my projects that I did the crackle technique on that I've had a few people ask about. I'll be making a journal with this crackle technique. It's really sweet and you can use it on a lot of different projects, but this one cracking kind of reminded me, and I think it would be fun to make charms, labels. But again, I'm even going to make a book out of that. So again, some of these are just layered, but I want to, the other thing I wanted to show you, this one and this little pink one, which is super cute. It looks like a little French label. And this one. So these three came from this same digital. This is the digital that I used. So this one is that picture right there. And then this one is this right here. And then this little pink one is this little tag right down here. That's that one. But what I did with these is I printed these on cream colored paper and then really distressed them. If I did it on white paper, I would get a very different look. I would still distress it, but I'm going to get a very different tone. So find the paper that you love. You can do pale pink, cream, white, whatever, whatever colors just suit you that you love. You're going to get a different outcome. So, and I will show you one of my next projects. I'm going to use a bunch of these. There's a whole bunch in the digital. I will link this one down below. This one came from Antique Paper, Antique Papers something. I'll again link it. But I'm going to be doing a master board, and I did it in both the pale color. I did it in white, and I also did them in cream, and I got a very different result. So I'll be doing these master boards. And in fact, some of these little tiny charms are really cute to put on these, but these will be cards. But these are the ones that I did with no, without the color. In fact, this charm right here is the same as that. So pretty fun, all the different things you can do. So this is a coming soon, and that'll be the masterboard process, and I'll show both ways to do that. And there we go. There's our delicious pile of charms to use in our journals and labels and all kinds of things. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope this video was kind of long. I'm trying to get them down to, a bit shorter. But and again, if you're on the Skool platform, please post in the group, and yeah, we'll see you soon in the next one. All right, bye-bye.